Welcome back to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba and Andrew Kernan. All right, our next guest is Greg Wolfe, co-founder of TheWolfLine. And this is a whole new slant on how to invest. Let me back up. And Andrew, please bring Greg in. And Greg, introduce yourself. And Andrew is going to be driving a little bit. My voice is out today.
Hi, Greg. How are you doing today?
Not too bad, Andrew. Thanks for having me on the show.
You're welcome. Hey, I'm going to go ahead and let you kind of introduce yourself, give us some background about you and how you got into the whole sports speculation market and what that is. So go ahead.
Okay.
Greg?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's kind of an interesting story that starts, I'm a New Jersey kid, just outside of Philadelphia. And when you're from New Jersey, you kind of grow up speculating on sports and horses, while you're still wearing short pants, pretty much. And what happened was, years later, I was introduced to the options trading world by a friend of mine that I grew up with. And I started seeing, which nobody else saw apparently, the 100% correlation between sports speculation markets and, to a lesser extent, horses. Actually, the horse racing track is always called the poor man's stock market. That was an old axiom growing up. But I started looking at quantitative analysis and technical analysis as I learned from the ground up how the options markets worked and how technical and quantitative analysis worked. And what I thought at the time, this is the late 1990s, was the legitimate quote unquote financial markets. I found out there was more to it than that later. But I was able to make 100% correlations to especially the sports markets in the most esoteric and complicated option theories, positions, behavior of assets, overpriced, underpriced, technical levels, serial correlation, all of it. And I kept it to myself, really, because I didn't want to appear as if I was kind of referring to illicit markets. This is coming up on 20 years ago. Obviously, we've made a lot of progress since then. But at this point now, we're just filling a huge void. I left the traditional financial markets in 2008, to be honest with you, because of the central bank manipulations. I just felt a need to create a new, more transparent, quantitative marketplace that, to be honest with you, it was a humongous void. And also, to be honest with you, it's just a lot more fun to be long a delta neutral straddle in the Cowboys-Redskins game than it is to be long a delta neutral straddle in soybean futures.
That's funny. In this, what you're talking is a marketplace that's not just domestic U.S. It's a global market. And if so, could you expand a little bit on that, what that means, and what the size of that market is in a dollar value?
It's difficult to put a number on it, but there are numbers that I'll give you. I mean, the estimates for domestically in the U.S. In 1998, the last actual official study that was done. Now you got to remember, 99% of this is illicit until this law called PASPA is overturned. Likely, it's going before the Supreme Court this fall and should be overturned because it's completely unconstitutional in the late winter, early spring. But the estimates back then, this is again 20 years ago, was between 300 and 500 billion per year in volume just in the U.S., which is
billion with a B, right?
Right, which is only 5% of the global population. So the industry with the internet has grown so much that there are estimates domestically in the U.S. again of about 2 trillion with a T in 2017. So if you comport that with the other numbers, again, we make a lot of analogies to pairs trading and to foreign exchange, whereas the Patriots versus the Steelers is no different than the euro versus the U.S. dollar, and the Patriots versus the Jaguars is no different than the euro versus the yen, and it should be seen as such. So if you're going to compare that to another binary market, which is the currency and sports, you're looking at foreign currency of $6 trillion a day with, globally, which I believe there's 118 or 120 listed pairs, with 85% of that going towards the 7 majors. Now, if you just do some simple logical correlation there are 33,000 international sports assets, teams, competitors, what have you, that have markets made on them. So, and it goes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with all the same principles applying.
Yeah, this is the market I didn't even know existed. Do you have any on this quantitative and analytics technology you have? Do you have any patents or pending rights?
Absolutely, we're patented all over the world. We just got Japan last month, so we're patented in Japan, Singapore, Russia, Mexico, New Zealand, Israel, all over the place, and we have the countries that we're not patented in yet. We're pending imminent approval everywhere except basically Antarctica and Africa.
And can you describe that patent a little bit, or what, when you say quantitative analytics, what did that mean to you?
Right. The claims that associate to the technology and all the products are relate to the patent. The title is Methods and Systems to Recognize Quantitative Mispricing of Gaming Markers. It's a mouthful, but that's what it is. And basically that covers the quantitative spectrum and the technical spectrum of what the technology, the platform, the theory, and all the intellectual property present. It's pretty much, as I'm sure you know, brokerage model is, it's dyadic, it's two-sided. You have to have the analytics side, but you also have to have the execution side. We're, in a world right now with sports, and this will, when it becomes completely legal in the United States, which we're way behind the curve here internationally, but the states will end up being the execution side as well as private operators, and we happen to be the only provider of analytics, quantitative and technical analytics for that. So right now it's as if you're going to a brokerage site, pick one, and you would be going, and there would just be an execution side, and there'd be no legitimate technical analysis tools or indicators or oscillators or anything like that. And imagine if you did that today, you wouldn't be a client. And not only that, volume would be extremely low. What happened to the traditional financial markets between 1995 and now was the retail public got education and access to technical analysis, quantitative analysis, option theory, et cetera, as well as the tools, and volume, just using the NYSE as an example, increased 2,000%, in 20 years. And that's what we see happening here to create a massive, the next massive, redux of that happening.
Greg, I hate to do it, but we're out of time. It just got away from us. Thank you for being the guest on the show. Only $30 a month for full access and interface with your product?
Absolutely. We want to educate and enlighten and provide the service to as many people as possible. We don't want to lock anybody out. $30 a month. I mean, compare that to Bloomberg, which is $25,000 a year, and you're getting a pretty good deal.
It is. All right. TheWolfLine.com. Greg Wolfe, thanks for being a guest on the show.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Greg.
All right. You've been listening to Andrew Kernan and Michael Yorba on CEO Money. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for listening to CEO Money. If you would like to be a guest on our show or know someone who should be on our show, please contact us at info@wfn1.com or our website, wfn1.com. If you would like to reach any of our guests, please visit us at wfn1.com. Join us on Twitter at WFN Live or our Facebook page at WFN Live. We will be back tomorrow with more great interviews and ahead of the curve information you just can't get anywhere else.
CEO Money is sponsored by WF News 1 Incorporated. Views and opinions heard on CEO Money are not necessarily the opinion of this station or its management. Material on this program is intended for general information only and should not be taken as specific investment, tax, or legal advice.